From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
The Librarian of Congress, and I'm not going to introduce it, but I just want to say one word about the mighty Rickey Minor before we turn it over to Allison Starling, ABC News, and you'll get a more glamorous introduction. But I have to say, one of the things we really celebrate at this book festival is the versatile creativity of America. And Rickey Minor, I just have to tell you, is one of our great heroes. He appears in so many guises. Allison will tell you all about him. I just want to mention one thing, that he orchestrated and conducted a piece that we specially commissioned of this year's Gershwin Prize winner, Stevie Wonder. That was President and Miss Obama, who of course are busy and can't be with us this afternoon, but they wanted this taken to the White House, and I believe it was the first party in the new White House. Stevie Wonder conducted a whole bunch of singers. He's a brilliant conductor, a marvelous musician, and he's also an author, and he's really one of our great American originals. Allison will tell you all about it, so I just wanted to say what admirers we all are of Rickey Minor, and we're so happy to have you here to see him as an author for once. But you can hear the music in the background because he speaks it, he lives it, and he's one of our great creative figures today. So the beautiful Allison will introduce him now, but I just want you to all give her first a big hand, and then Rickey as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Billington. What a nice treat. The Librarian of Congress is not speaking to every group today, so certainly very lucky for us, and great to see all of you. My name is Allison Starling. As he said, I work at Channel 7, and if any of you wake up really early, I do Good Morning Washington during the week, and I'm so happy to be here today. Now, it's not on my network, but there's this little show that some of you may have seen. It's a singing competition. There's 3 judges. It's created superstar after superstar. Anybody know what I'm talking about? American Idol. That's right. It is probably the biggest television show of our generation. It's unbelievable, and we are so lucky today to have the creative genius behind American Idol here to tell us about his experiences. For 30 years, Rickey Minor has worked with the biggest names in the music business. We're talking Gladys Knight and the Pips, Usher, Beyonce, Aerosmith, and Aretha Franklin. And we're just naming a few names here today. He also has 3 Emmy nominations. And I assumed that they were for American Idol. And he said, no, they're actually for the Grammys. He directed the Grammys. I thought, when are you going to do something big in your music career? But his life wasn't always glitz and glamour, and Rickey Minor talks about this in his book that hopefully many of you have had a chance to read. He grew up in South Central LA, but he was determined that he was not going to be a victim of his circumstances or be defined by his circumstances. So in his book called There's No Traffic on the Extra Mile, Rickey Minor talks about how he got to the top of the music world with great everyday advice that many of us can use and pass on to our children as well. My favorite that I found in his book is this quote: "Always give people more than they're expecting, but remember, you can't please everyone all the time." And now Rickey Minor has the opportunity to work in schools. He works with children, trying to pass along his love for arts and the music to enrich their lives as well. And maybe if we're lucky, he'll give us a sneak peek behind the scenes at American Idol here today. So please help me welcome, all the way from Los Angeles, Mr. Rickey Minor.
Hello and thank you. I'd like to thank my wife for ordering up some rain, but it's not here enough. She was so afraid that no one was going to be here. So we went around passing out and saying, hey, will you please stop by, that maybe someone would stop by and hear a few words. So thank you, Karen. Thank you, Allison, for the introduction. I appreciate being invited to the 9th National Book Festival. This is a wonderful opportunity to hear the great storytellers talk about their works and encourage reading. I'm especially honored to have Dr. Billington not only here with his wonderful wife Marjorie, but to speak on my behalf was really moving and touching for me. And I know that doesn't happen every day for most people. This has been an incredible year for me with the release of my book and working on the Super Bowl and the Grammys and American Idol, and having the opportunity to work for the Library of Congress with this great honor for the Gershwin Prize and at the White House. And these are all wonderful things. But this story, my story, There's No Traffic on the Extra Mile, talks about the very thing that this story could be anyone's story. Just change the name, change the occupation, change the circumstance. But it's about how to get out of your own way and to pursue your passion. The one thing that stops us, and we all have in common, the thing that stopped me is me. The one thing that stands in your way is you. And I believe that you need to give yourself the permission to succeed, permission to fail. Everything that you try to do may not pan out, but you should pursue your passion. Maybe you won't get a chance to play Carnegie Hall as a musician, but the joy that it brings from playing music and creating something with your hands, whether it's gardening, whether it's being an architect, there are many things that we're passionate about, but we sabotage ourselves into thinking or believing because someone says that you'll never make it, that we don't even try. And it's not the destination, it's the journey. And we know these things. I mean, I'm not telling you something you've never heard before. But the first thing that has to happen is that we must start. How do you get started? Because so many times you think, I'm not going to be that good, and I want to get started. I'll wait till next year. It'll be my New Year's resolution. I'll start next year. I'll have plenty of time. I'll do it when I'm older. I'll do it after I have kids. I'll do it when I retire from my job. And I believe you know, pursuing your passion fulfills your life and makes it much more wonderful. I'd like to read an excerpt from my book about my start. And there's a chapter called No Shame in Being Green, because we're embarrassed. We're embarrassed to try. What if I run for student body president and I don't win? What will people say about me? What will they think about me? So my story started, I got a call on a Wednesday night, and the voice on the other end was music conductor Victor Hall. He said, "We got your number from a session drummer," and he quickly got to the point. "We're looking for a bass player. We leave Friday morning for Newport News, Virginia, and Bloomington, Minnesota." I was 20 years old and had already left college and had never been on a plane before. This was my first real professional gig. I was about to hit the road with the legendary Gladys Knight and the Pips. They said, "You'll need a tuxedo, and we'll give you the sheet music when you get there." I went right away to the thrift store and bought a tuxedo for $5. I also got 3 tuxedo shirts for $1 each. I was thinking ahead. Because it was a short trip, I wouldn't have time or money to go to the laundry, so I made sure I had 2 shirts. I needed a pair of black shoes, and I got a few other things at the thrift store. After all, it was winter time, and it would be cold where I was going. I had checked the weather forecast in the paper, and they said it would be snowing in Minnesota. Before I left the store, I purchased one of those lumberjack hats with a flurry, ear flaps, and a pair of used snow boots. Lastly, the store had a good selection of used luggage. I didn't have a suitcase because I'd never gone anywhere before, so I bought 2 pieces. At the cash register, I put all my new pre-owned items in the suitcase, ready to go. Friday morning, I'm on the plane, and I must have looked a sight. I was sitting in my seat with all my winter gear on. I got my hat with the ear flaps down and it's tied under my chin. I've got my snow boots on, and I'm sitting there listening to everything the flight attendant has to say. I'm doing everything to a T. I got my seatbelt fastened correctly. I practiced putting my head between my legs in case of a crash. I mean, I'm not making this up. I mean, you know, this really happened. I don't know if I was thinking, but it's probably because I was green as hell. A couple hours later, when we changed planes, I noticed some of the other guys in the band laughing and making gestures towards me. I said, this guy's weird. He's got the hat on. I mean, it's 80 degrees. And he's got the hat on. To add to the drama, I had packed my ticket for the connecting flight in my bag. So now the road manager had to buy me a new ticket. They're making a big deal. Now we're at our final destination, and we're at baggage claim. And I meet Gladys for the first time. She come in from another plane, and we're all waiting for our bags. And all the bags had come out except for my last bag. Finally, out comes the last suitcase. And they say, who's this? Whose bag is this? I said, oh, it's mine. They look at me like I'm from another planet. How was I to know that I'd bought a woman's vanity case? I thought it had a mirror in it. It's small. I can put a lot of things. My toiletries go in there. Needless to say, I got a crash education in traveling, wardrobe, and luggage that day. But how quickly things change. As soon as we got to the airport, everybody started slipping and falling, everyone except for me. I might have looked silly, but like a good Boy Scout, I was prepared. A few days later, I came to the realization to think, I'm on a tour bus with Gladys Knight. I mean, my name is on the same hotel room list as Gladys Knight. I mean, I kept looking at that going, this can't be, they're paying me. Wait, let me get this right. Okay, so they pay for the hotel, they pay for the airfare, and I get a check, and I get to play music? I must be dreaming. I pictured myself traveling the world and playing, and soon I would be. I was blown away by the fact that in Japan, I could be in Japan playing with a horn player who didn't speak English, and yet we had the common language of music. I could suddenly see the payoff for all the hard work, all the hours and hours of study and practice. I was just so happy to be a working musician. It goes on, that story, but that's kind of the start of it. Thank you. So literally, music saved my life. I was born in Monroe, Louisiana, and my grandmother said the family needs to move to Los Angeles. More opportunities, sell everything that you can't carry, and we're getting on the bus, and we're going to Los Angeles. And I thought, well, okay, this is great. I mean, it's sunny all the time. It's wonderful. And I got on my bike, and I rode my bike around like most kids, enjoying life. But I always felt that if I worked hard, there were other opportunities. I love music. Music saved my life. And I believe that I always loved listening to music. I loved dancing to music. And I loved the way music made me feel. So I thought, if I could do something, just anything in music, I would do it. So I started playing at age 14, and growing up in the projects in Watts, I emulated the Jackson 5, and I wanted to be like the Jackson 5, and I thought I could do the same things. I started playing the bass, and that was it for me. I was so in love with the way I felt, and I saw it as a way to give me self-confidence and help me to realize that the opportunities that come will always come if I'm prepared. They will always present themselves to you. And look for mentors and people who can encourage you, inspire you, and give you guidance on the things that you love, and experience that. And I believe that your life will be much more fulfilled in doing so. Thank you. I'd like to open up for questions.
Rick, hear me? You mentioned something at the beginning of your talk which struck a nerve. You mentioned that there are programs that take young kids, prodigies, early in sciences, in music. And a lot of times when a child goes through that, he's told, oh, he's brilliant. He never fails. And you pointed out at the beginning of your talk, it's important to start and fail early and bounce back. What do you think of if somebody has a young child prodigy? Should they encourage them early in music?
there is no time like the present. So if the child is young, if you yourself are older, there is no time like right now. So there's never too early to invest in your future. It's never too late to invest in your future. So I think that understanding that failure and fear and all of these emotions are natural feeling when you're trying something, because we all innately want to be loved and accepted. Thank you.
I have a question. How did it feel with you touring with like other artists like Beyonce and Usher and helping them with their music and their careers?
How does it feel?
Well, like, yeah, how does it feel?
Okay. Well, it's what's amazing and what is so the common thread for all of these artists who are successful, and anyone who is successful in any business, is their commitment to excellence. And the reason that you know the names that you know of people like Beyonce and names like Stevie Wonder and James Taylor and Elton John and so on is because their commitment to excellence. They work very hard, and the difference is when most people are sleeping, they're working. You're welcome.
How did you get the job for American Idol, and what's it like directing it?
I worked with Simon Fuller with the Spice Girls, so I knew Simon Fuller, and I received a call saying, I have this show in Europe called Pop Idol, and we'd love for you to be a part of that. And he sent me boxes of tapes, review this, tell me what you think. And I went in for a meeting, and they hired me on the spot. Only to find 2 weeks later, I get a call saying, well, it's a new show, it's a small budget, and these are amateur. They don't really need the work of a professional like you. We're just going to go with pre-recorded tracks. And that lasted for 3 years until I got another call saying, I think we're ready for you. And so this will be my sixth year doing American Idol. And it's more fun than I could ever explain. But just imagine going on a roller coaster ride at fast speeds and feeling the wind in your hair and just enjoying every moment.
Yeah, my question is also on American Idol. You know they're the judges up front, but how much impact do you have on like going to the judges and saying, I think this person's going to be a terrific talent, like hear them out because you get to work with them behind the scenes like that?
Can you say that once again? I'm sorry.
Okay. Obviously, we're used to watching the show and you see the judges are the ones critiquing them and doing that, but how much impact do you have like during the week of telling the judges, hey, I think this person is going to be really outstanding, give them a chance and all that sort of thing? Do you have impact on sort of their careers at that point?
Yeah, the extent of my conversation with the judges are, hello, and how are you today? No, and it's not for any other reason except that's their job, let them do theirs, and I do my best in doing mine.
What influenced you to write your book?
Sorry?
What influenced you to write your book?
Working on the show, there was a call to be a contributing writer to Chicken Soup for the American Idol Soul. So this story is a story I told, that there's no traffic on the extra mile. And when I was nominated for an Emmy, the story was featured in Emmy magazine, and I was contacted, my publicist was contacted by a few literary agents, and here we have it.
Question. Earlier you said, over here, welcome. Earlier you said, you talked about people getting out of their own way, and I was curious about what you had to say about that, and particularly in your own situation.
Yeah. There are a lot of times that there's a chapter called Blinded by Arrogance, and a lot of the times we either believe that we're too good for a situation. Say we go in for a job interview, and we cut off our nose, spite our face. I'm too good for this job. It's not paying enough money. I'm not getting the respect that I deserve. and we refuse to look at ourselves and see how can we add value. And I believe that when you come into a situation and you're able to add value, everyone recognizes that. I mean, to my knowledge, I don't know of anyone who's been fired for being too early. You know, you come early one more time and that's it, you're out of here. So to that end, if you push yourself and allow yourself to totally experience the opportunity, all the people around you, there's so much to learn. And the fact is it's true that you don't need, a lot of people think, well, look, I'm so good, I don't need anybody. And I'm here to say I agree, you don't need anybody. You need everybody. You need everyone that you meet and everyone that you greet. You need them all to be on your side, to give you positive energy. I spoke to another author earlier, and she said, I'm generally shy, but around the audience, all of a sudden, my brain gets this big because I take the energy from the audience and their positive reinforcement to what I'm trying to convey. Thank you.
How well read are the contestants and your working colleagues at American Idol? Do you think they are? And how well read were you as a student?
You're talking about novels in terms of reading,
well,
or music reading?
Any type of reading.
Music reading?
Yeah, including the musical knowledge, well, lyrical.
I always enjoyed reading, and I believe the contestants have a lot of time on the computers. So what they do on there, I really can't tell you. I don't know what they do, but they're on the computer a lot, so hopefully they're reading. But during the course of the show, there's so much work that they have to do. I don't believe that they are reading other than People magazine and watching themselves on the cover of these magazines. So I'm not sure. Thank you.
How did you get music lessons?
How did I get?
Music lessons.
Music lessons. You know, I so wanted to be a really accomplished musician. So I did like any 14-year-old would do. I opened the yellow pages and I looked for a place that said they taught music, and I called and said, will you teach? I'm 14. Can I have a lesson? And they said, absolutely. Why don't you just come on down? And I looked in the paper and I found the address and I had the bus route. And so I got there and I took my lesson and I said, thank you very much. And he said, that'll be $20. So I of course, I didn't have the money. And so he said, I'll tell you what, don't ever miss a lesson and I'll find something for you to do around here if you don't have the money. And so I started cleaning and I started filing papers. And after that, the next week, I got Coke bottles, for those of you who are old enough to remember Coke bottles, and redeeming those. And I got 5 cents for each one. And I kept going and searching for Coke bottles and asking friends. And so I paid most of my lesson, but a few times I did enjoy the sweeping and cleaning. Yes?
What is your favorite instrument to play?
I'm a bass player by trade, and I play bass because in that Jackson 5 group, I sang the parts of Jermaine Jackson. So when our band quit, my uncle, who was manager, says, look, you guys are good and you're cute and everything, but you need to learn instruments. No one wants to play behind a bunch of kids jumping up and down. So you learn an instrument. All you guys are going to have to learn an instrument. So I said, well, I'll play bass. Since Jermaine plays bass and he sings, it's a natural fit. I'll be able to still sing my Jermaine parts, and I'll be able to play the bass parts because he does it. And that was my logic behind playing bass. And boy, I sure am glad I did.
Hi, Rickey. Could you describe the importance of encouragement, and particularly who encouraged you? This has been a phenomenal talk you've given.
Oh, thank you. It is so important, like I said earlier, to find mentors and people that can help unlock the joys and unlock all of the great gifts that you have inside. And I believe we have many gifts that are yet to be explored. And I think it's really important to seek information, education, books, and reading, and finding people who can really unlock that great treasure inside of you. So I think it's really important to have mentors. And I had my grandmother and other people I met along the way, my math teacher, and later on in life, people like Quincy Jones and Stevie Wonder and so forth. Thank you.
Hello. Do you think you made a big impact on some of the names? Well, were you a big part of some of the names that are important today?
Well, well, now that you mention it, well, let the truth be told, I feel honored to be given that kind of influence on pop culture and on the artists. This year, I had the opportunity of producing the national anthem for the Super Bowl for the 7th time, and the first time with Whitney Houston in '91, and recently this year with Jennifer Hudson. And when you are able to shape a performance and really get inside the soul of the artist, and the biggest compliment is their trust in you to convey their thoughts and their feelings. Because the first thing I say is, what do you want the audience to feel? Because that's the most important thing. Is it, you know, joy, happiness, sadness, victory? What is the feeling? And it's important that the artists understand, because there's so many people around them, so many people who are there and paid to tell them, you're great, you look great. Oh man, that's a great song. So someone needs to be honest, and I hope that I'm that gauge for them to say, yeah, that was good, but not so good. I mean, you can do better, and so they need someone to hold them accountable. And every now and then, I feel like they give me that opportunity, so I'm thankful for it.
I was just wondering, a lot of times on American Idol, you know, the musical director, you're very behind the scenes, but there were several times this season where, you know, you were kind of rocking out with the contestants on stage, and I was wondering which is your favorite?
Well, being that I'm a rock star, it would be rocking out. But no, I think, you know, music especially is really enjoyed when the participants are closer together. So the further the distance, it's harder to relate. As in a conversation, without this microphone, I'd have a difficult time relating to everyone and connecting. So it's a lot better for me when we're closer. But for reasons that we have a lot of guest artists on now, so it's more difficult because the band is up higher so that we can, in a 3-minute commercial, live TV, get the equipment out for the guest band and then get it out of the way quickly. So, but I do miss being closer to the contestants. Yes.
Hey, Rickey, do you still put together touring bands for artists? And if so, how would a player be in touch with you?
Well, good deal. I do. I'm always asked for new and emerging musicians and people who are willing to work hard. I think that these artists invite people into their life, into their family, because they know that they will handle the job and take care of business, and that's the biggest criteria for me. So what a person has done before or what they'll do after is of little consequence to me. I just want the best person for the job. So I'll give you my email, and you can email me and give you my contact. And it's available on the web too. Just my name at AOL is my email, so it's pretty easy.
I have 2 kids who are in the music profession. One of them graduated college. The other one is attending Berklee College of Music in Boston, and he can't wait to be recruited to get out of the school and start his music career. So I'm wondering what your sage advice would be, to jump on an opportunity if one presents itself to him, or stay and finish your education?
It depends on the career path. I mean, if it's a job that's short and you have a little time left in school, finish school, and the bigger jobs will be there for you. If it's a big opportunity and it's something he really loves, then he can always finish his classes online and get his degree. But I think he should get his degree at all costs.
Stay in school.
Well, stay in school. I mean, stay in school. Tell him Rickey said stay in school.
I got you.
And tell him to email me and stay in contact with me, so when he gets out of school, then we'll have some contact and some communication.
Done.
All right. Hi.
How does it feel to have the experience to be on American Idol?
You know, sometimes I don't believe it. You know, I wake up and I go to work and this is my job, so it's really unbelievable. I mean, I have to pinch myself to make sure that it's me that they're talking to. Thank you.
I'm from Alexandria, Louisiana, and it's just a shout out from you to you from Louisiana.
Holla back. Thank you so much. I think we're out of time. I'll take the last question, I guess.
Are you gonna think about making a book about music this year?
A book about music to share?
This year.
This year. Yeah. I'm going to do that. I'm going to knit and crochet, and I'm going to do a little gardening. No, if I find the time, I hope to write a book. Maybe not this year, but soon, hopefully. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.